Well, what an exciting weekend. The playoff picture still trying to get formed here. This is Snap the Pigskin. And hello, everybody. I am your host, Noah Clark. We got a great show for you today. The Ravens now sit at first place for the AFC North. The Chiefs keeping their season alive. The Cowboys clipping the Eagles' wins, coming back from a 21-0 deficit. And the Rams taking care of business. And are they the team of the NFC? We also have Bring On the Bacon and our special Pigskin Thanksgiving picks along with Pigskin Primetime picks. So let's get right into it here. Let's start with our first down. The Baltimore Ravens beating the New York Jets, sitting now atop first place in the AFC North. I had talked about this a couple weeks ago. I had talked about this previously of how the Baltimore Ravens are not dead at all. But they are slowly going to make the comeback, and so far have done it. They have, since that 1-5 start, proceeded to win their last 4 straight games. Last 5 straight games for the Ravens. And now, with a Pittsburgh Steelers loss from the Bears, this division's tied. This division is very much tied, and it gets even more exciting as we get closer and closer and closer to the playoffs. Baltimore and Lamar Jackson playing pretty well here. It's going to be interesting, though. The next 3 games, Ravens play the Steelers twice. They also play the Bengals twice. Big Thanksgiving Day matchup coming up here tonight. Joe Burrow going to be back, which is huge for Cincinnati. The Bengals, another one of those things where Joe Burrow just, doesn't play most of the season, gets hurt, comes back, and I think could go on another kind of slow run, and we'll give more about our picks. But Baltimore, I give them credit, man. I give them credit, and you look at this Ravens team from start to finish. From start to finish, they've been really good, and it didn't look good at the beginning of the season. I mean, 1-5, you lose Lamar Jackson in most of those contests. Now for Baltimore, for the Ravens, they get Lamar Jackson back. Once they got Lamar Jackson back, that was basically all that they needed to kind of get themselves back into the hunt. And Lamar Jackson's played pretty well. He's played really well for the Ravens. You look at it so far this year, in 8 games played. 8 games played this season. He's had over almost 1,600 pass yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Then on the rushing attack, 8 carries, or 46 carries, 237 yards. He has 1 rushing touchdown, but you look at the numbers in the passing game, I mean, that's really impressive. Really, really impressive. And everybody was saying that this Ravens team was left for dead. I truly think if they can just hold on, I said this too, if they can just hold on and be able to steal a win and be able to just kind of, hang on and just hope that Lamar gets back in time, that this team is going to be okay. And you look at it, that 1 win was against the Browns. They proceeded to lose their next 4 games, but they get a big win over the Bears, get a big win over the Dolphins, and a big win over the Vikings, Browns, and Jets. And I said before going into this kind of run for Baltimore, if they can just get a win, and just hope that, if they can just get a win, I mean, they'll be fine. You look at the 5 games that they've played. The 5 games that they've played, they've won, they've at least scored 20 points. The Bears game, they scored 30. But they've played well. They have played well. the Ravens starting to kind of hang on. And now, hey, this is going to be a fun Thanksgiving Day game. Lamar Jackson going up against Joe Burrow. And then the week after, the Steelers and the Ravens. Always a great matchup between those two teams. Whoever wins that game is going to be in sole possession of first place in the AFC North. You also look to, if the Bengals somehow play spoiler, which with Joe Burrow coming back, that is a very big possibility that it could happen. The Steelers really could put themselves in prime position. So, can't wait. Can't wait. I'm also really yawning a lot. It's been a long day. I just got home from work, ready to finish it out, get this episode out to you guys, enjoying the Thanksgiving week. Second down, we go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City keeping their season alive. A big win over the Indianapolis Colts, winning in overtime to beat the Colts, keep their season alive, and keeping their playoff hopes very much alive so far. If the season were to end today and the playoffs were to start today, Kansas City would be out of a playoff spot. The Chiefs would be sitting as at the 10th seed spot in this game, but a huge win over the Indianapolis Colts gives them a lot, and I mean a lot of hope. I mean, I will give Kansas City credit. They're 5-1 at home. Their only loss, they've only had one loss this season. Only one loss this season, and it was only two losses this season. One loss this season, because I forgot they played the Chargers in Brazil. So they've only had one loss at home this season to the Eagles, but they lost by 3. You look at every other game this season, they have played particularly well. They beat the Lions. They've beaten teams. They beat teams that they needed to beat. They beat the Ravens. They beat the Lions. And now you beat the Colts. So they do have some good wins. Indianapolis is a good win. Indianapolis right now is sitting in a prime playoff position. They're a division leader in the AFC South. But I do think for Kansas City, if they're going to make the playoffs, they have to win out. They have to win out, and their schedule gets only so much harder. Their next 3 games, looking at the schedule, their next 3 games, they have Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, Houston, and mind you, the Texans are coming off a big Thursday night football game against the Bills where the defense just was incredible. The Chargers, a rematch of Brazil, the Titans, and the Broncos. And I also will add that Broncos game is a Christmas Day game. It's a Christmas Day game. And so that'll be fascinating to watch. It's not on, I don't believe it's on Netflix. I think it's on something else. I don't know what it is. I think it's on Prime Video. But you look at down the stretch, Kansas City, they only have 2 opponents where they are not 500. Everybody else they're playing down the stretch of the season has playoff implications. Kansas City right now needs to get it into gear, because looking at this Chiefs team, you look at some of the just weird games that they've played this year. They'll have great wins. They'll have a great win over the Ravens. Yeah, I understand the Ravens didn't have Lamar Jackson. They had a great win over the Lions. Okay, great win over the Lions. But then you lose to the Bills and you lose to the Broncos. You lose to both of those teams close, in which those are must-win games, especially the Bills game and the Broncos game. Then you come back and meet the Colts. Now, Thanksgiving Day is a very big game. Now, it's a very big game for several reasons. They just need to keep pace with everybody else in the playoff field, and they need to keep pace with everybody in the division. They still are not out of this division race yet. They still have to play the Chargers and the Broncos yet again, and the good news is they have to play both of those teams at home. If they can just hold on, Kansas City's in a prime position to just keep themselves from being eliminated here, and maybe at least hopefully, maybe at least getting the second seed, or not second seed, getting a wild card spot. Division title, however, that's a little bit harder. You have to beat the Chiefs. You have to beat not Chiefs. You have to beat the Broncos and you have to beat the Chargers to even just keep pace with that division and just to even win the division too. And you got to hope that both those teams lose at some point too. So, yeah, Kansas City keeping their season alive. The Colts, for Indianapolis, I got nothing really much to say other than like that's a tough loss. Tough loss for the Colts. They have not been a good road team this year. They're 2-3 on the road this year. They've really struggled going up against teams on the road. They've lost. 3 of those losses have came to 3 really good teams: the Rams, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. You look at their 2 road wins that they had, the Titans and the Chargers. Now, the Chargers was a quality win. That's a solid win. But your losses to the Rams, the Steelers, and now the Chiefs, that's kind of brutal. And if they want to be a really good playoff team, this is one stat that I don't think you want to put yourself in a category of, especially if you're trying to compete for a Super Bowl. I mean, their defense is great. Their defense is great. But losing that game on the road is very brutal. And keep in mind, they still have to play Jacksonville and Houston twice in this division. Okay, it's not over for the AFC South now is not wrapped up. And mind you, this happened last year when we saw Jacksonville have just a monster division lead, and then all of a sudden blow it towards the finish line. And so if you're an Indianapolis fan now with this loss to the Chiefs, you're holding on to your dear breath because here come the Texans, and here comes a Texans team that just recorded 8 sacks on Josh Allen on Thursday Night Football. Their defense is one of the best in the league right now. D'Amico Ryans has got that team playing at a high level. If you're a Colts fan, you're biting your nails right now. You're biting your nails at this point, and you're just trying to say, look, we have to finish this season strong, and it's not going to be an easy road. And I mean, how can you? You look at their schedule. They do not play a team under 500 the rest of the way. Every team that they play is a playoff team, is considered a quote-unquote playoff team, or, a team that is 500 or above. And it is not an easy road for the Colts. I could see them imploding down the stretch of this season, but they've got to get it together. They have really got to get it together, and it starts by this game on Sunday against Houston. Got to be a get-right game. Get-right game for the Texans. They cannot afford to lose another matchup. We're talking a lot about playoff teams, too. Third down, Cowboys and Eagles. Boy, you talk about I've said this too. There's been a lot of late afternoon games that have not been very exciting, or like game of the week games. There have not been any too much game of the week games that have been exciting. I don't know what it is this year, but a lot of these games this year have just been really kind of duds. A lot of the afternoon games, like the 12 o'clock games, have been super fun, super exciting to watch. And finally, this is kind of one of those rare, like 325 games that was really fun to watch. Cowboys and the Eagles, a rematch from week 1. Eagles won this game in week 1. It was still, this game too, mind you, in week 1 was relatively close too. 24-20 was the final score. And the Eagles, won that game in week 1. It was the raising of their Super Bowl banner from the season ago. And this game, it was the same story. It felt like the Eagles, were out there playing at a high level, playing really well, getting out to a huge lead and all that stuff. And man, you think about the Eagles, and I just don't know really what to say from this game. Philadelphia really had kind of the game locked. I mean, their defense was outstanding. 21 nothing. 21 nothing in this game. 21 nothing in the first half. They really kind of kept the Cowboys in check the entire game. They didn't really score any points until the second half. They scored, well, I should say that looking at the box score, they scored 7 points at the end of the first half. So it ended up being 21-7. But it was bad. It was bad. Coming back from a 21-0 deficit at one point to win the game and win this key NFC East matchup. And Dak Prescott, I've said it all year with the Cowboys. I think you look at Dallas, their offense is legitimately good. Their offense is legitimately good. They are. It's one of those things that we've seen under the Dak Prescott tenure. Is Dak's a really good quarterback offensively, and the problem has been with Dak over the years is his defense, especially this year, has not really been up to par. And you look at, they had Dan Quinn in 2023. They had Dan Quinn. They had such a great run, and then that whole thing fell apart. And then 2024, they just couldn't get it going. And then this season, they bring in Brian Schottenheimer. Same thing happens. The defense doesn't really get going. The offense is really, really fun. And, I mean, it is. It legitimately looks really fun. They look like a really good team, a really fun team on the offensive side of the ball. But the defense is still not good. They don't have Micah Parsons. Yes, you add Quinnen Williams, and you add Logan Wilson, and you think that this team is going to improve on the defensive side. And it's not. They've not particularly done well. And this was the first game where, for much of that second half, I thought Dallas really kept the Eagles in check. I really thought that we were seeing this Eagles team basically like we were watching the Packers game. Their defense really just was headhunting on Philadelphia. They really didn't let the Eagles get their offense moving. They really kind of didn't let them get started in the second half, even though, Eagles were up 21-0. But in that second half, the script kind of flipped, and the Cowboys really played well. And you also have to look, too, at a couple big points in this game. Several turnovers committed by the Eagles that were brutal in this game. You have one big time. You have a big time play. You have multiple big time plays. You have a big time play to CeeDee Lamb that gets the scoring going, or that gets the score cut down to 21-14. You have the fumble on the kickoff return or the punt return that gives Dallas a chance to tie the game. On the punt return, the guy runs into his own defender. He runs into his own defender, and it ends up being a Dallas recovery. And so Dallas gets the ball, ties the game up. Wow. Now, you look at those turnovers. Those turnovers are brutal. Brutal. You also have to look at the Eagles too, not being able to move the ball on the offensive side. They had a chance. They had a chance to go put the game away, and they didn't do it. Dallas gets the ball. They go drive, and a big throw to George Pickens on a second down, a third down, to set them up inside the 20 to 15-yard line in Philadelphia to ice it. That was just really spectacular from the Cowboys. And it all is banked off of bad turnovers by the Eagles at the worst time possible. And the NFL this year, I've said it, this year, the NFL has just been wild, man. I mean, we've seen week in and week out, somebody gets beat. Some good team gets beat. And there isn't a consistency of where good teams stay really good. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen this year. Another prime example. Another prime example. Dallas is kind of hanging on right now, too, as well, to a playoff spot. Uh, that win is massive for the Cowboys. Good news for them. It keeps them in the playoff race. Bad news is they're probably still not going to win the division, and they need a lot of things to happen uh, in order to just try and stay in the playoff race. They're right now sitting well outside of a playoff spot, not even close to a wild card spot. It's not looking pretty. It is not looking pretty. And if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you need a lot of luck to go your way. I mean, you also look at the start that Dallas had. They went out, they lost, they won, they win loss. They went 1-2, then they tied to Green Bay, then they beat the Jets, then they lose to the Panthers. And then they lose, they win against the Commanders, they lose to the Cardinals, then they win 2 against the Raiders and the Eagles. Now you have for Dallas, and here's where it gets tough for Dallas. This is where I say, really where their playoff schedule does get a bit tough. I mean, because you look at it, yeah, you win over the Eagles and the Raiders, great. You win a Monday night game against the Raiders. Everybody's winning on Monday night against the Raiders at any time this year. I mean, the Raiders are just bad. And the Eagles, that's a game you steal. That's a big game you steal. Okay, great. That's awesome. You steal that game. But now here's where it does get tough for Dallas and where it does get very dicey. They have the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day, and this is a game that they have to win. This is a must-win game that they have to win in order to keep pace with the rest of the NFC. And not only that, but after that, you have 2 very, very big games where you have to win. You have to win. You have the Lions and the Vikings the week after the Thanksgiving Day with the Chiefs. And that gives them time to heal up, gives them time to get ready, go against the Lions. Mind you, too, the Lions also have 10 days as well because they're playing Green Bay. Dropped a rubber band on the floor. Got distracted. It's been that kind of day today, too. But the Lions and the Vikings, those are 2 huge matchups. And then you close out the season against the Chargers, 2 divisional games against the Commanders and the Giants. I don't want to say at this point, it's kind of at the point of where if Dallas doesn't win out, they're not making the playoffs. Any loss could ultimately cost them their season. I mean, it's where they've got to at this point. And it's only because they had such a bad loss. They had such a bad loss or not a bad loss. They had such a bad start at the beginning of the year. Like, it was so bad. And that does fall, yes, on Brian Schottenheimer for why they didn't get it going. It does fall on the defense. It falls on Matt Eberflus. And it does fall solely also on Jerry Jones. I mean, you trade Micah Parsons away, and you get back Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson and George Pickens. Yes, that boosts your offense in those trades that you made, and it does give your defense a run stuffer. And I forgot to mention Kenny Clark in the Micah Parsons deal. So you get 2 nose rushers, and you get a linebacker and a wide receiver. But you don't get that solid outside pass rusher in Micah Parsons. And look at how well Mike is doing in Green Bay. He's dominating this year. I mean, if you didn't watch on Sunday when he absolutely destroyed the Vikings center, like, he's having a fantastic year. And I think it goes back to the beginning of this season where the Cowboys just couldn't get off the mat and couldn't get, off and running. And it's because of that defense. Their defense was so atrocious. And if you're Brian Schottenheimer, maybe there's questions going into the offseason. Do you let Matt Eberflus go? I think they're going to evaluate all their options. I think also, too, they're just going to see it play out. But I do think this is tough for Dallas. It's tough for them. They got a tough road to go to the playoffs. The only way they can make the playoffs is if they win out. And yeah, you steal a game from the Eagles. Now you got to steal a game from the Chiefs. You have to beat the Chiefs. That is a tough task, especially for a Chiefs team, too, by the way, that's coming in very desperately looking for a win just as much as Dallas is. I mean, this is a very interesting game. It's a very interesting game looking at because both teams are desperate. So I, for one, am curious how Thanksgiving Day is going to go. I do think if I'm putting money on this, I shouldn't say yet, but I will say I'll tell you in the Pigskin Thanksgiving picks. I almost spoiled the picks for you guys, but if I will say this, if I'm putting money on this, maybe I see Dallas winning. Maybe I see Dallas not making the playoffs this year. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't think the season has gone the way that they wanted it to go. And it goes back to Jerry Jones trading Micah Parsons, and it's kind of been, free falling. Yes, they did trade for Quinnen Williams, and they traded for Kenny Clark, and they did trade for George Pickens. But all those moves have not, made it enough to say you traded Micah Parsons away. You traded the one key piece of our franchise away and one of the best defensive players that the Cowboys had ever seen since DeMarcus Ware. And now we're kind of living in this spot of now we're not probably going to make the playoffs because of that. And mind you, they have a first round pick from Green Bay. That's probably going to turn into a late first. So that pick is maybe useless. Yeah. Not a good look for them boys. Philadelphia, they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back. The Eagles are making the playoffs. They've already won the division. I mean, they've already won the division. They've already kind of put themselves in a very good hole, a very good spot. Like nobody's catching them in that NFC East, unless if the Eagles fall apart. I just don't see Philadelphia losing there. So, fourth down. Moving on to fourth down. Rams. The LA Rams playing at home on Sunday Night Football, and they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And not only did they just beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they beat the crap out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game. 34-7 was the final score in SoFi Stadium. Rams now sit atop the NFC. They have the 1 seed. They don't even have to have that tiebreaker over the Rams or over the Eagles, who beat them earlier in the season. But the LA Rams are sitting atop the NFC. They have now won 6 straight games. Count them, 6 straight games. And they have the Panthers coming up, and their road gets a lot easier down the stretch of the season. Holy cow. On the other side for Tampa Bay really struggling here. Thankfully, Monday Night Football, if you were a Bucs fan and watching that game, you can exhale knowing that you still have the division lead. The Panthers blowing the Monday Night Football game against the San Francisco 49ers. And so Carolina and Tampa Bay still sits atop the division at 6-5, while Carolina sits at 6-6. This was very interesting for Carolina, or not for Carolina, for Tampa Bay. The tough part for the Buccaneers, they do lose Baker Mayfield to an injury, and Baker Mayfield, don't know what the injury is, though. Adam Schefter reported that it is a sprained AC joint in his left shoulder, so the Bucs aren't ruling him out. So it's the same injury as Jordan Love. Jordan Love does have a sprained AC shoulder. What the Bucs could do is they could play the conservative route, just run the ball 100 billion times and hope that one breaks through, and then you throw a few pass plays in there here left and right. Or they can let Baker air it out. And we've seen Baker Mayfield play on an injured shoulder before when he was in Cleveland. He played pretty well. I mean, the Browns got themselves into a good prime playoff position. What's tough about this for Tampa is that it comes at the worst time when he's getting hurt. The Bucs right now have really kind of an easy schedule down the stretch of the season. They are really going to coast into the playoffs. The Panthers, they have to play the Panthers twice. So if they beat Carolina, I think even if they just beat Carolina once, they win the division. Carolina, however, has the tougher road because while they also have to play the Bucs twice, they have to play the Rams and the Seahawks. So that is not an easy road for Carolina. For Tampa Bay, thank goodness they dodged a bullet. They dodged a bullet when they needed to, and huge. And it's not only that, Baker Mayfield probably might play. He still might be able to suit up. But you also don't have to give the division lead to the Carolina Panthers. And I will say maybe Bryce Young might not be a Panther next year. We'll get into the offseason talk about whether or not he will be there in Carolina or not, but who knows? But yeah, Tampa Bay, brutal stuff. They could not get off the mat, which brings me to the other side of this. And I said it last week for the LA Rams. I said that they were one of the best teams in all of football, and they looked like it once again here on Sunday Night Football. They absolutely came right out of the gate on their opening drive and walked right on down. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers stomped on them, crushed them, drove the bus, trampled over them, rammed them. There's the pun, that you're thinking of. And were able to go right on down in their opening drive and score. And then they did it again. They scored 31 points in the first half. 31 points in the first half. By the end of the half, it was 31-7. Matthew Stafford went absolutely off in this game. He only had 10 incompletions. He was 25 of 35. He had 273 pass yards. Devontae Adams had a very good night as well. And I said this last week. The Rams this year look legitimately scary. My mic is muted. They look like a team that just honestly looks like they could be a problem. They look like a team that legitimately does have a bit of scare to them. They do look like a team on the offensive side. Yeah, we've seen it on the offensive side with Sean McVay as a group that looks scary. We also know on the defensive side, they look pretty scary. And this is, mind you, with what I said last week. And how good Sean McVay is. You look at with Sean McVay, they went through, when he first got there, he had to completely revolutionize the way he does things. Completely. You look at that first, look at his first tenure. Look at his first run through. He had the guys with Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods, Cooper, Robert Woods, and all those guys. He had those guys. And they were a team that's going to run with Todd Gurley, set up a play action with Jared Goff. And it worked. They were able to get to a Super Bowl with it. They were able to win that. They were able to get to Super Bowl, win the NFC, get to that first run with that team. Hey, incredible. Now you look at, but hey, now you look at that too. They didn't win that Super Bowl. But then you look, their second tenure, their second run, was different. Sean McVay. What does Sean McVay do? He goes out. They go out, and the front office says, "All right, we need a new quarterback. Jared Goff isn't working for this system. we're going to go out. Let's get Matthew Stafford, a guy who can throw the ball more. Go out, get Matthew Stafford. We have Cooper Kupp. We have Cooper Kupp. Let's add pieces to the offense. Let's add Odell Beckham Jr. Let's add to the running game. Let's add Cam Akers, Sony Michel. Let's get that run game going again. Let's establish the run. Then you look at the defensive side. They still have Aaron Donald. But then you add guys like, you add guys in the secondary, like Jalen Ramsey. You add a guy like a Jalen Ramsey. You add a guy in the inside or on the outside, like a Von Miller for the edge rush. You add an Aaron Donald. And evidently, you look at that second run for McVay, that second tenure now, they win a Super Bowl out of it. I mean, they win a ring out of it. In that first year, when McVay switched everything up, they win a Super Bowl out of it. Then, now you look at, here we are in the third tenure of the Sean McVay tree, of the Sean McVay tenure. And this time now, he's once again evolved. He's once again evolved to, we're going to be a team that sets up the run, but we're going to throw, and we're going to do a lot of crazy things. We're going to throw a lot of crazy things at you. I mean, they've had 3 tight end sets. They've had 3 tight end sets. They've had, 2 back sets. They've gone play action. They do all these rollout stuff with the play action pass. You're going to get the tight ends moving. Sean McVay does all this stuff. And you look at it, he does it, and they're very successful. They do a great job of doing it. And now they're sitting atop first place in the NFC. And I look at the Rams, and man, I look at the Rams, and it's hard for me not to say that McVay and this team doesn't deserve another ring. It's hard for me not to look at it. I mean, they came in, they beat a team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that, I was expecting this to be a close game. The Rams absolutely blew them out of the water. I was expecting, a lot more from that Bucs team to come in, and LA absolutely shut them down. And if you're LA, you're sitting atop first place, you are not giving that lead up. They've only had 1 loss this year at home to the Niners. They lost by 3. That was in a tough overtime matchup on Thursday Night Football. They lose that game, and they only lost it, off of a Kyron Williams fumble in that game to lose that game. But since then, since that 49ers lost too, they've won 6 straight games, and they have the Panthers this week. Not only that, they only have 2 teams really over 500 plus, and they have 2 teams that are still in playoff contention, the Lions and the Seahawks. And after that, I mean, they don't have to play the Niners again. They have to play the Seahawks again, and this time it's going to be on their turf. It's going to be in Seattle. They play the Lions. That'll be an interesting matchup. Last year, they lost to the Lions in week 1. This year, I think it's going to be maybe different. Who knows? But give credit to the Rams, man. I mean, they have really kind of slowly crept up and have now all of a sudden taken this division, taken the division over, taken the NFC over, and are in prime position right now for a number 1 seed in the NFC. Wow. Wow. Incredible. All right. we wrap that up with 4th down. Let's get to now our bringing home the bacon, and then we got a lot of picks to get here today for Pigskin primetime picks, because we got our Thanksgiving Day picks, and I'm going to just even jump right into this. The Houston Texans defense, phenomenal performance. They absolutely raised hell for Josh Allen. 8 sacks in this game, including 3 turnovers and a game-sealing turnover in a win over the Bills. The Texans defense under DeMeco Ryans, man, they have been outstanding. They've slowly crept up on teams, slowly crept up on the Colts in that AFC South. And I'm saying that division race is not over. I was thinking it might be over. That division race is not over. We're starting to see it maybe again happen to what had happened with the Jaguars last year, where they missed the playoffs and they were sitting first in the division. Talk about a potential choke happening here. All right. Moving on. Pigskin primetime picks. We got a lot of picks today. And I wanted to get in our Thanksgiving Day picks because we also have some good Thanksgiving Day games. There's a really good lineup here. And our Black Friday game, too. And there's only 2 pigskin primetime picks this week because of how many Thanksgiving Day games there are. So let's get into it. Let's start with our first one, Packers and Lions. Green Bay goes to Detroit. They play the Lions here. This is the first game of the day. I have the Green Bay Packers losing to the Detroit Lions. I think Lions win this one by 3. They played really well with the Giants. The Lions, however, yes, they don't have Sam Laporta the rest of the season. They don't have Kirby Joseph for this game. Dan Campbell ruled him out. Green Bay also does not have Tucker Kraft. They don't have Jaden Reed back yet healthy. Josh Jacobs is questionable to go in this game. He'll probably be ready to go. Jordan Love is also playing with an AC joint sprain. I just think in this game, the Lions, they're feeling the taste of that week 1 loss. And where Green Bay absolutely smacked the ever-loving daylights out of them in that game. I see Detroit winning this game. Jahmyr Gibbs is on a heater right now, too. And when a guy's hot, you got to roll with him. The only way Green Bay, I think, wins this game is they have to stop the run, and they have to stop the run early and make Jared Goff beat you with his arm. You can't let Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery get going, especially Jahmyr Gibbs. You cannot have him get going in the run game. Otherwise, it's just going to be a tough day. And I think it's going to be a tough day. I got Lions by 3 in this one. I see them winning this Thanksgiving Day game. Packers in the Jordan Love era, however, are 2-0. I see them taking their first loss in this game. Moving on to our next one, our later game, the Chiefs and the Cowboys. I got the Cowboys winning this one. Cowboys win this one by 4. I think they keep their season alive. I think they keep their postseason hopes alive. Kansas City, every week it's a different Chiefs team. What are you going to see? I'm kind of just waiting for the Chiefs offense to just kind of turn it on and just play like how they used to play. And I just haven't seen that yet. The Cowboys, however, their offense week in, week out, you know what you're going to get. You know that you're going to expect scoring from the Cowboys offense. You know you're not going to expect a good game from the defense, which is fine, but you know you're going to expect a good performance from the offense. That's why I got Dallas in this game. I got them winning it by 4 over the Kansas City Chiefs. Moving on to the primetime game. Thanksgiving Day game number 3, the Bengals at the Ravens. Joe Burrow is returning for this game for the Cincinnati Bengals. Whether or not he starts, that is the real question. Joe Flacco right now is, I believe, the starting quarterback for this group. I got the Ravens still winning this one by 3. I think it's going to take a bit for Joe Burrow to get himself back and get himself and knock that rust out. And I think the Ravens right now, they're playing really well. I hope that they're not looking ahead towards the Steelers game because that is a big matchup for them if they want to take the division lead. I got Ravens by 3 in this one. I see them winning it, and I see them winning it close. I think they're going to have their minds set on Pittsburgh moving ahead. Now moving on, Black Friday, the new Black Friday game. This is actually going to be a great Black Friday game. The Bears and the Eagles. I got Eagles by 10 in this one. This is the Bears this year have looked kind of what the 2022 Vikings were, and where they just win all these close games in the fourth quarter. They really, don't show you much against top teams. They get blown out by top teams. I got Eagles by 10 in this one, too. This is in Philadelphia. This is Caleb Williams' first test. I mean, this is where we really see if the Bears legitimately are a good team or not. And if Green Bay wins this game if Green Bay or Detroit win this game, win their game in the first game, division lead is wide open. It is wide open. So I just think to the Eagles right now, I think they need a get right game. Their offense hasn't been playing well, but their defense has been outstanding. And this is where I think they make Caleb Williams' life very frustrating. I got Eagles by 10 in this one. I see them winning it over the Chicago Bears. Now, moving on to our pigskin primetime picks, and we got some doozies. These Thanksgiving Day games are incredible. These primetime pick games are doozies. Starting with this one, Broncos at Commanders. I got Broncos by 17. I think Denver steamrolls the Commanders here. I just do not see this being a good game. Jane Daniels I don't know when he's going to come back yet. They're really relying on Marcus Mariota at this point, and it just does not look good. I got Broncos by 17 in this game against the Commanders. And the last one, and this one may shock you, Giants and Patriots. I got Patriots by 3. The Giants fired Shane Bowen, and they came close to winning. Games, 2 back-to-back games against the Packers and against the Lions, and they put the Lions in freaking overtime. And I think that this is going to be another one of those games where they make it relatively close. I also do think it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be relatively close and it ends up with the Giants losing this game. I got them winning. I got the Patriots winning by 3. New England gets their 11th win of the year. And give credit to Mike Vrabel. I honestly think it's either him or Sean McVay who gets Coach of the Year, who's going to be absolutely, it's absolutely a 2-man race of who's going to win Coach of the Year. Maybe you throw Ben Johnson in there, maybe. But we have to see how he does against the Eagles this week on Black Friday. So with that does it for us here. Watch Snap the Pigskin at YouTube or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to download the podcast every time. Feel free to watch our show on YouTube at any time to your listening. And next week, we are going right from Thanksgiving, and we're going to get right into the final home stretch of the season in December. And before we get into that, we want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving here from Snap the Pigskin, and hope that you all will enjoy your holiday and enjoy your nice little break. I have a 5-day break coming up from work, and I am very much going to enjoy that with some great food, some great friendship and family time, and obviously, yes, some great football. So with that, next time, we're going to be getting down into the December race here. The final stretch of the NFL season is coming up, and we cannot wait to give you all that coverage here on Snap the Pigskin. We will catch you all next time.